Hi. Whoopsie doodle. Do you know what? I knew as soon as I was like, publicly, this is what I want to do. I want to put a YouTube video up every 2 weeks. That it wasn't going to happen. But here's my excuses. Here's why. There's 3 things predominantly, maybe 4. So I have been on 2 breaks since. I went to Croatia for a friend's wedding. I was a bridesmaid for the very first time. So I was with like the bridal party for a long weekend, and then I spent a couple days in Split with my partner, which was actually amazing. I had such a good time. And I did think about bringing my camera and filming it, because even when I went to leave, I was like, didn't really have much footage for a previous vlog, and I was like, do I want to take this on this holiday? And like, for example, like my friend has a 1-year-old who, her and her husband, that's funny to say, her and her husband have like made a decision like not to put online, like, not that I would just film this baby, but there's like a lot of people who, I don't want to invade their privacy by bringing this camera. I don't want to make my friend's wedding a content plot point, you know what I mean? So I also made the decision to like go and have a break. So I was like, cool, that's why I missed the first video. I've also literally just gotten back from Glastonbury like 2 days ago. It was my first time going, but you're there essentially a week. Also, I made a new Instagram. I'm unsure whether I told YouTube that I have made a new Instagram, and I do really want to talk about this, and maybe this is the video to talk about it. I essentially think what a great thing it is that you can change your mind. Like, you can change your mind on something. I feel like sometimes you may feel wedded to a viewpoint and a stance that you had about something, but guess what, you can change your mind. Like, you could absolutely change your mind on something. It's a non-issue. And that for me was creating a separate print Instagram. So for the longest time I was like, you know, I feel like people want to see the artist behind everything, which is true, like that's probably why you're watching this. And you know, they want to get another person, so I wanted to have like the same Instagram. I feel like keeping the upkeep of 2 would be something that I wouldn't be interested in doing. You know, I didn't feel like, you know, other types of artists needed to necessarily have 2 separate Instagrams. But essentially what it boiled down to was I started applying for markets this summer, and they would always ask for your social media. So lo and behold, I'd give them what is now my personal Instagram. And I wasn't getting jobs. I wasn't getting tables, you know, I wasn't getting the opportunities. And whether or not that is anything to do with me giving them an Instagram that also had like pictures of not stuff related to my artwork, I will never know. But I knew that that was something I could change. And if I couldn't sort of say like, no, that's not it, it's another reason why people don't want me at their markets, then fine. Anyway, turns out, spoiler alert, I've had a new Instagram for 6 weeks, something like that, and I've booked 2 markets. So, you know, anyway, how that links into YouTube is that I was getting so stressed out at the prospect of filming for both YouTube and Instagram. Like, I would argue unnecessarily stressed out about it, because like I wanted to document and create something good for both platforms, and I was struggling with that. Like, I know a lot of creators will say this, but like filming something and doing it, like it like doubles how long it takes. Well, you chuck 2 ways of filming that in, that's bananas. The thing is with short form content is that it's very instant, very, like the gratification is there immediately, and I feel like I've needed a bit of that momentum to keep going. Anyway, but ultimately my favorite type of content is YouTube. I love YouTube. I love it. So for me, like, I'm always like, it's always going to be there. It's always going to be something that I want to do, because I sure as shit watch a lot of it. So like, I truly don't watch television, I watch YouTube. So yeah, anyway, that's kind of my excuses. I want to make some getting ready for market stuff and talk about markets. So that'll be the next video. I think what I might do today, this is kind of like a catch up, hey, this is where I'm at, day to day and video. And I think I will sit down and go through catch you up to speed. If you Instagram's not your bag, that's totally fine. As I said, that's kind of where my head's been at. But yeah, how are you? Are you doing well? I am doing okay. Also, like, there was like last week, I think before Glastonbury, I like tried filming and I just was not in the headspace for it. I think in my heart I will still try to do every other week, but I feel like I can't, like, because this isn't my full-time job. I've been chatting for 7 minutes. Oh, I knew this was gonna happen. But yeah, this isn't my full-time job, so I think I need to give myself some grace. So that's what I'm gonna do. Hello everybody. So I've been editing this afternoon, and I thought the best way to go about things is to kind of do like a visual podcast kind of situation. I'm gonna have like phone footage, so read this way footage, whatever side I decide to put it on, and I'm just gonna kind of talk through it, so then we're all up to speed. You can see like where everything's at, and then next video I will film things in landscape. Anyway, so you're about to hear me again. Are you ready? Every other week. That's what you just heard earlier. I'm just gonna watch through this video and talk through it, essentially. It's kind of like I'm reacting to what I've done the last month. Anyway, let's boogie, let's bounce. Okie dokie. So big thing that I have done is I have drawn up and designed a new lino cut, which I am also going to be screen printing. That's absolutely the massive punchline of all this footage. But essentially what I wanted to do is I really enjoyed my eagle bag a lot, and so kind of going along, I guess, a little bit with the bird theme, but also kind of, I don't know if you've noticed on my arm, I've got an eagle tattoo with a red sun behind it, and come on. I kind of wanted something to do with the sun, and like I think there's a lot of particularly like Japanese folk art of like a heron or a stork with a big red sun behind them. I just really enjoyed that kind of imagery, so I wanted to do my own spin on it, but instead of it being flying, I wanted it stationary, just like looking proud and doing its own thing. So I got to drawing, and I drew one up and made a lino cut, as I said originally, and I've called it Ruled by the Sun for a couple of reasons. Obviously there's a sun, but also I'm a Leo. I'm not really big into astrology, but I think a lot of people are very happy when the sun is out, which is where we are right now. We're in summer, I'm a summer baby, and Leos are ruled by the sun. So there you go, that's the little behind the scenes thought process there. So initially, kind of my creative process is I do like to sketch it out a couple of times. I do want to get a little bit better at actually sketching things and sketchbooking. That's something I kind of want to do in July/August. I really want to have like a good span of just like actually sketching things out rather than just going for it. I think I did mention that in my last video actually. So then I drew it onto a big piece. It's about an A4 size of lino, is this lino cut. This is kind of like my first, that's not strictly true, my Koi Boy is two colours, but it's the same lino just flipped, whereas this is 2 separate pieces of lino. And there's kind of 2 ways that you can do this. You can cut it really tight and almost like slot it in like a jigsaw. I quite liked the idea of having a bit of space in between the sun and in between the heron as well. So that's why I decided to cut around it essentially and leave like a little bit of a gap, just because I quite liked how that looked. I was also toying with the idea of like printing a red sun first and then over the top printing the heron. I decided to go with a little bit of a space in between. But yeah, as I said, this is about an A4 size, but I am printing it on an A3 rice paper. Again, you'll see that in a sec. Because I love a bit of negative space. Again, I guess that kind of plays into why I chose to leave that gap. in between. Like, I do love negative space in work. I do love having a big chunky border, because I think when framed, that kind of looks the best. Having some negative space, some white in it, really, I think helps better frame a piece of work when it's on a wall. I do appreciate sometimes, I think some of my work, when it doesn't even have like a border, I don't know if you've seen my Growing Pains print, that I think definitely looks a bit weird out of the frame, but in a frame I think it looks very good. What's also really cool about this piece is this is the first time that I used oils. I think last time I did mention about buying oil paints or oil relief inks and using them just to kind of give it a go, because it was something that I'd kind of strayed away. I was definitely more of a water-based type of gal, and actually they've printed really nicely. I did initially go with just like a normal like set which came with processed colours, but I have since gone and bought a separate red, which I think is more of this sort of orangey red. I think it's called Naphthol red off the top of my head. Super duper happy with that colour and super duper happy with how they're printing, and they're not too hard to clean up, which is good. Oh, also I guess kind of go along with the market prep, I went to IKEA because I've got visions of taking one of their pegboards and making it suitable for me to put either like hooks on and like basically to hang some hanging stuff, whether it's my bags and stuff. I think they're really helpful. But yeah, as I mentioned, with this heron print I did want to make it a screen print as well, because I want to screen print on some banners. I've got some dovetail banners that I want to print them on, but originally my screen had been exposed for one of my partner's photos, so in order to get that screen back, I was like, hey, do you want me to print some stuff? I first of all had to print some of my partner's stuff. We've done a super duper limited run on some red paper, and I think it looks really nice. I've really hammed up the halftones, which A, makes it easier to expose, particularly with the setup that I have, but also I just really love a good halftone, and I am actually really happy with how they turned out. They're just simple A4 size, and it's just a bit of fun really. But yeah, so that means that I was able to reclaim my screen. So obviously I had to do two separate screens because I want to do two separate colours, so that's why I needed both of my screens back. I also had to reclaim my Eagle screen as well. So like, bags are done. I haven't got clips of this, but I have already ironed them and everything. They're literally good to go, and I'm gonna they're first gonna be available at the market itself. Same with all these prints actually. So there is a clip of me here at my parents' house. So one thing I do need for this market is I need to provide a table. It's outside as well, and I don't really want to spend the money, to be honest. I don't really have the money to spend, to be really upfront about it. I asked my parents that, well, I mentioned to my parents that I was going to buy a wallpaper pasting table because Argos do them for like less than 20 quid. My stuff isn't heavy. Like, if I was selling like heavier things, then maybe it'd be an issue, but my parents were like, oh, we have one upstairs from when we redecorated a room. So I went over to, lo and behold, I went over to my parents' house and got it out to have a little look-see at it, and it does bow a little bit, but I reckon with a bit of a prop in between, I'm going to put a tablecloth over it and everything, like, nobody be any the wiser. I'm also thinking about getting those like dish stands that you see a lot at markets that people use for prints. I'm going to also use for them. It's going to be a bit of a DIY situation, but I think that's me all over, isn't it? Just kind of make it work. Do what you got to do. I did actually try out this gingham, not tablecloth, it was literally just a piece of cloth, which I used as a tablecloth. Fun fact, when I used to compete in burlesque competitions, I used to like really like set the scene and like use a gingham tablecloth. I was like, oh yeah, I have that at my parents' house. It's got a massive coffee stain on it, so I probably will just need to go buy one. But anyway, also a few of the bits that have come in, stuff like I got some cello bags, which to put my prints in. I'm sure I'll talk about it maybe after this market, but the first market I did, I learned the hard way that you need to protect your prints. And I've also redone my business cards as well. Again, I think next video I'm going to go more into depth into all of this, but as I said, just catch up to speed. I need to update the information on them, and I also wanted to outsource them, which again is something I do want to talk about, rather than me printing them myself. And then also I signed all of my prints, all my new ones, because they're now all dry and good to go, and then I put them all in the cello bags, so again they're all nice and protected. And that's about it really. Anyway, I hope you feel filled in. I mean, honestly, thank you so much for commenting and subscribing if you want to. It really does mean the world to me. If you fancy doing that, that sounds great to me. But yeah, thanks ever so much for watching, and you shall see me soon with a proper big boy video covering all the absolute madness of a market which is in less than 2 weeks. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I shall see you again soon. Bye!